People often say growing old is a gift, and they're right, but staying strong, physically strong after 60, that's not just a gift, that's a choice, a commitment. See, at this age, we don't need heavy weights or noisy gyms. What we need is wisdom. Elderly wisdom, movements that work with the body, not against it. I've met seniors from all over, America, Europe, who still walk tall, carry their own groceries, play with their grandkid, not because they're lucky, but because they move with intention. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 gentle exercises that can help you do just that. These are real powerful moves. No machines, no fuss, just simple ways to stay strong, independent, and full of life. So if you believe strength doesn't end at 60, you're in the right place. And hey, before we begin, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because here, every week we share real stories, quotes, and life lessons from the elderly. People just like you, who are still growing, still glowing, and still living with purpose. You know, I've lived long enough to see people spend thousands of dollars chasing youth, joining fancy gyms, trying new machines, drinking powdered promises in plastic bottles. But after 60, I learned something simpler. Strength doesn't come from lifting heavy. It comes from moving often, wisely and gently. Let me walk you through 3 habits I've seen change lives. Real seniors, real strength, no gym. The first one is something most people overlook because it's just too simple. Walking a good, steady, mindful walk in the morning. I call it the ritual of resilience. You see, when you're over 60, your joints begin to stiffen, circulation slows down, and balance becomes a real issue. But walking just 20 or 30 minutes a day does wonders for your heart, your brain, and your mood. Science backs that up too. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy showed that older adults who walked daily had better memory, stronger legs, and even reduced depression. But let me tell you about Arthur. He's 83, lives in a small town outside Manchester. I met him during a community interview trip. Every morning at 6:30, even in the drizzle, Arthur grabs his wooden cane, not because he needs it, but because he says, "It talks to the pavement for me." Then he walks a small circle around his neighborhood. Once I asked him, "Arthur, why every day?" He smiled and said, "Because each morning I wake up, I need to prove to myself that I still belong to the world. And nothing reminds me of that more than watching the sun rise while my feet keep moving." His blood pressure? Lower than mine. His step? Steady, but more than that, his mind is clear. His spirit calm. He told me walking is my conversation with life. That stuck with me. If you do nothing else, start walking. You're not just exercising your body, you're reminding it that you're still in the game. Now, the second habit is something I wish I'd started sooner: air squats. I call them standing strong from your own foundation. See, we lose muscle fast after 60, especially in the legs and hips. That's why many seniors struggle to get off the couch or toilet. It's not just weakness, it's muscle loss from disuse. But with just 10 chair squats a day, you can start reversing that. It's simple. Sit in a sturdy chair, feet flat, arms out. Stand up slowly, then sit down with control. Don't plop. Do it 10 times. That's 1 set. Now let me introduce you to Linda from Chicago. She's 79, lives in an apartment on the 2nd floor with no elevator. A year ago, she told her grandson, who's a physical therapist, that she was afraid of stairs. Every time I climbed them, she said, my knees shook like jelly. He taught her chair squats, at first just 5 a day. She grunted, laughed nervously. I feel like a toddler learning to stand, she joked. But 3 weeks later, she was doing 10, then 15. A few months in, she wasn't just climbing stairs, she was dancing again at her church potlucks. I asked her how it felt. She looked at me, straight-faced, and said, I feel like my legs are mine again, like I can trust them. That's what this habit gives you. Not just strength, but trust in your own body. And when you trust your body, you stop being afraid of movement. You stop shrinking. Now, the third habit is one most people think is just for the young or the fit. Push-ups, but not the ones on the floor. I'm talking about wall push-ups. I call them rebuilding the push of life. Because think about it. How many times a day do you need to push something? A door, a cart, your own body weight off a mattress. Wall push-ups train your arms, chest, and shoulders without hurting your wrists or back. You just stand a few steps from the wall, place your hands at chest level, and slowly bend your elbows, bringing your chest toward the wall, then push back. 10 reps twice a day, and your upper body strength starts to come back. Let me tell you about Ron from Minnesota. He's 68 now, but 2 years ago, he slipped on ice and took a nasty fall. He said, the bruises healed, but the fear stayed. He didn't trust his strength anymore, so his therapist gave him one assignment, 10 wall push-ups, morning and night. First week he trembled, second week he steadied. By month 2 he was doing 30 a day. And let me tell you, Ron walks proud now, shoulders up, head high. He told me each time I push off that wall, I push off the idea that I'm fragile. I push off fear. He even inspired others in his senior living community. They started calling him Coach Ron. Not bad for a man who once doubted if he'd ever get strong again. So these 3 habits, they're not flashy, they don't make headlines, but they restore your dignity, they give you strength without pain, movement without machines, and confidence without fear. Morning walk, chair squats, wall push-ups. You do these every day, and you're not just adding years to your life, you're adding life to your years. And isn't that what we all want? Now let's keep going, my friend. You've heard me talk about walking, chair squats, and wall push-ups. Those are your foundation, the ground floor of senior strength. But what happens when you want to move better, not just stronger? What happens when stairs become intimidating, or your legs feel unsteady, or your balance is just off? That's where these next 2 habits come in. They're not flashy, they won't make you break a sweat, but I promise, they change how you live after 60. Because real senior health isn't just about muscles, it's about mobility, stability, and peace of mind. So here's habit number 4. It's called the heel-to-toe balance walk, but I like to call it the line of confidence. It sounds simple, almost silly, but I've seen it change lives. Here's what you do. You find a clear hallway or stand next to a sturdy table or countertop. You place one foot directly in front of the other, heel touching the toes like you're walking on an invisible tightrope. And then you walk slowly, one foot, then the next, arms out if you need them. A wall nearby just in case. 10 steps forward, turn around, 10 steps back. That's it. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But let me tell you, this one movement wakes up your nervous system. It retrains your brain to talk to your feet again. Because as we get older, the messages get slower. Balance weakens not because you're clumsy, but because your brain doesn't process where your body is in space like it used to. That's called proprioception. And without it, falls happen. And we both know, one bad fall and your whole life changes. That's not fear talking, that's truth. Now I want to tell you about Marianne. She's a 76-year-old retired school teacher from Ontario. Sharp as a tack, still reads 2 books a week. But last winter she slipped on a patch of ice outside her garage. She didn't break anything, thank God, but something inside her did change. Confident, she told me, after that I started walking like I was 90. Small steps, looking down all the time. I didn't realize I was shrinking. That's a word I hear often. Shrinking. Not just in height, but in spirit. Her daughter, who's a nurse, introduced her to the heel-to-toe walk. At first, Marianne said, I felt ridiculous, like I was in clown school. But she did it. 10 steps a day, then 15. Then she started doing it while brushing her teeth, while waiting for the kettle to boil. After a few weeks, something shifted. She stood taller. Her arms stopped flailing every time she turned. One day she looked at me and said, you know what? I walked across my whole kitchen yesterday with a bowl of soup and didn't spill a drop. Then she added, I feel like I'm walking with dignity again. Now, that's power, dignity. That's what balance gives you, not just fewer falls, but more trust in your own body. And when you trust your body again, you go out more. You drive, you visit friends, you stop saying no to life. You start saying, maybe I can. So don't overlook this habit. 10 minutes a day, that's all it takes. Heel to toe, one line, one breath, one step, and you start reclaiming the ground beneath your feet. Now, on to habit number 5. One of my favorites. It's called seated leg raises, but I call it power from the chair. This one's a quiet giant, because people often think that if you're sitting down, you're resting. But no, done right, sitting can be a place of rebuilding, especially for your legs. Your quadriceps, to be exact, that's the big muscle on the front of your thigh, the one that helps you stand up, climb stairs, and keep your knees strong. Here's how you do it. Sit on a straight back chair, no cushions, no rocking. Sit tall, feet flat on the ground. Then slowly lift one leg straight out in front of you. Hold it there, 4 or 5 seconds. Then lower it down. Switch legs, do 10 each side, maybe even 2 rounds if you're feeling strong. Don't rush it, this is about control, not speed. Why does this matter? Because the #1 reason people end up in nursing homes isn't memory loss. It's not even falls. It's loss of mobility. Can't climb stairs, can't get off the toilet without help. That's when independence starts to slip away. And 9 times out of 10, it's because the leg muscles are gone. Not from disease, from disuse, from sitting too much and moving too little. But the seated leg raise fights back. And you can do it while watching TV, while waiting for the microwave. Heck, I've done them while talking on the phone. Now I want you to meet George. He's 82, lives in Dallas, Texas, was a postal worker for 40 years, walked more miles than most of us drive in a year. But after retirement, things slowed down. His knees started hurting. He said, every time I got out of bed, it felt like my legs were made of wet paper. His doctor wanted to talk about surgery, but George wasn't ready for knives. His granddaughter, who's in physical therapy school, said, "Grandpa, let's try something simple first." So he did. Seated leg raises, first 5 each side, then 10, then 20. First week he hated them. I felt like a fish trying to ride a bike, he joked. But he kept going. 3 months in, he was back to mowing his lawn, something he hadn't done in years. He told me, "It ain't pretty, but it's mine. I do my yard, I do my legs, and I do it all in the same chair I used to nap in." That's the lesson. This isn't about running marathons. It's about doing enough to keep doing what matters. The grocery store, the stairs, picking up your grandchild, dancing at your niece's wedding, walking out of the doctor's office under your own power. That's freedom, and freedom, my friend, is the most underrated form of strength there is after 60. These two habits, heel-to-gi walking and seated leg races, will not make headlines. You won't see them in fitness magazines or hear celebrities talk about them. But let me tell you, they're part of the quiet wisdom passed down from one generation of seniors to the next. The kind of exercises you don't notice until you stop doing them. And then you feel it. In your knees, in your back, in your independence. We've talked about strength, we've talked about balance. But now I want to talk about healing and breath. Because after 60, one of the most underrated powers you can reclaim is your ability to breathe deep, stretch far, and feel at home inside your body again. These last two habits, they've got nothing to do with lifting. They've got everything to do with letting go of tension, of pain, of fear. Habit number 6 is something gentle, quiet, almost spiritual. Seated spinal twists. Now don't let the name scare you. It's simpler than it sounds. Sit tall in a sturdy chair. Place your right hand on the outside of your left thigh. Gently turn your upper body to the left. Hold for 10 seconds, breathing deeply. Then return to center. Do the same on the other side. That's it. Do it 3-4 times a day. Why does this matter? Because as we age, our spine stiffens. We lose rotation, our rib cage tightens, and suddenly it's hard to take a deep breath, hard to reach behind, hard to even turn to look over your shoulder. Spinal twists improve flexibility, digestion, even lung capacity. They gently stretch the lower back, relax the shoulders, and open the chest. They restore space inside you. Let me tell you about Dolores. She's 77, lives in Asheville, North Carolina. She used to be a florist, always bending, reaching, twisting. But retirement slowed her down. One day she told me, "I realized I hadn't looked behind me in months. Not because I didn't want to, but because I physically couldn't." Her doctor said she was developing early spinal rigidity. Not dangerous yet, but uncomfortable. Her yoga instructor daughter taught her the seated twist. At first she struggled. "I felt like a stubborn tree," she laughed. But within weeks she started twisting more easily. Her breath came deeper, she said. "It was like someone opened a window inside my ribs." And then she added something that stuck with me. She said, "I didn't know how trapped I felt in my own body until I stretched out of it." That's the beauty of this habit. You don't realize how small you've been living until you breathe wide again. And the twist? It's not just for your spine, it's for your perspective. It reminds you can still change directions. Now we come to habit number 7, the last one. But don't mistake it for the least. I call this one the standing side leg raise. But you might know it better as how to stay on your feet when the world shifts beneath you. Here's how it works. Stand behind a chair, hold the backrest lightly. Slowly lift your right leg out to the side, just a few inches. Hold for a second, then lower. Do 10 reps, then switch to the left. This strengthens the outer thighs, hips, and stabilizers. Those muscles that keep you upright when you're turning, reaching, stepping sideways. It's one of the best ways to prevent falls and to feel sure-footed again. I want you to meet Harold. He's 84, lives in Portland, Oregon. Used to be a jazz drummer back in the 60s. Legs like a metronome. But after a hip surgery in his 70s, he felt off balance. He told me, "I walked like I was dodging ghosts. Always to one side, never stable." His physical therapist gave him just one assignment. Standing side leg raises, 10 per leg, twice a day, at first, Harold said. My left leg was shaking like a leaf. I couldn't even lift it 6 inches. But I told myself, I used to keep rhythm with my feet for 30 years. I can keep balance for 30 seconds. And he did. Week after week, that leg got stronger. His walk straightened, and one day at his local community center dance night, he got up, tapped his foot to a beat, and asked a lovely lady named Irene to dance. She said yes. I didn't lead with my words, he told me. I led with my legs. That, to me, is the heart of it all. These habits, they're not just motions, they're declarations. A morning walk says, I'm still exploring. Chair squats say, I can still stand on my own. Wall push-ups, I still have power. Heel to walking, I trust my steps. Seated leg raises, I have strength beneath me. Spinal twists, there's space in me yet. And side leg raises, they say, I'm still dancing. So that's it. 7 gentle habits to keep you strong, steady, and confident after 60. No gym, no pressure. Just simple movements that help you live better, not just longer. Start small, 1 habit, 1 step. That's all it takes to change the way you move through life. If this helped you, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. And let me ask you, where are you watching from? I'd love to know in the comments. This is Elderly Reflections, and you're part of something powerful. Let's keep moving forward together.